Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and we are powered by BETUS. Sign up today, get up to 150% on your first deposit, up to 125% on your second and third deposit, up to $2,000. You can use the promo code YouTube150. If you go to BETUS today, you will see that the Saints are a +7 versus the Washington Commanders. They're a 7-point underdog in their home matchup versus the Washington Commanders. Thank you all so much for being here. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Shouts out to everybody that is listening, no matter where you are, wherever you may be. Well, Who Dat Nation, we back at it again. Week number 15. The New Orleans Saints get some home cooking once again. They take on a 8-5 Washington Commanders team coming off of their bye week. And the New Orleans Saints will have a different signal caller. Jake Haener has been announced. He will be the starter for the game today. If you're actually watching this on a Sunday afternoon, he will be the starter for the New Orleans Saints in this game. Of course, you know Jake Haener is a second-year guy out of Fresno State. His last year at Fresno, he threw for 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, had a 70% completion percentage, and he gets his first opportunity. Although Jake Haener has been the starting quarterback throughout the entire season, we know that when Derek Carr went down a few weeks ago, the Saints decided to go with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler played in a few games, a couple up and down things going on there. So this time around, they decide to give Jake Haener an opportunity to go out there and start. I know a lot of people have their reservations about Jake Haener. They think about his size. They look at him and they feel like he just doesn't fit that mold. But I feel like he deserves an opportunity to go out there and do what he needs to do to show that he can be a quarterback in the National Football League. And on top of that, I feel like the Saints owe it to themselves to see what they have in Jake Haener as a quarterback. That way, you can have yourself a nice little sample size of your two backup quarterbacks to know their strengths and weaknesses and see if you can actually get something built around them, possibly maybe add something to help them get better, or you just feel like maybe you need to go in a different direction. But I think that all things need to be evaluated at this point from the New Orleans Saints perspective, especially, when it comes to the coach, Darren Rizzi. Darren Rizzi is 3-1 as the interim coach of the New Orleans Saints. But to me, I did not see a signature win. You look at the Atlanta Falcons at the time, that looked like a signature win, but they're on a 4-game losing streak. You look at the Cleveland Browns. They beat the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns went on Thursday, and they played Pittsburgh and shocked the world on national television and beat them. But they're still not a good football team. And the New York Giants on last week, that's not a good football team either. So this game today, to me, can be a feather in the cap of Darren Rizzi, a signature win. I mean, this is a team that is vying for a playoff spot. And if you can knock off the Washington Commanders, then I feel like you would have the undivided attention of maybe some of those critics out there that may feel the New Orleans Saints need to go in a different direction, or if there's somebody in the front office that feels like maybe the Saints need to go in a different direction, they will have no choice but to concede that maybe the team plays a little bit better when Darren Rizzi is the coach, and maybe we need to consider doing this thing on a more permanent basis. But looking at the overall teams, looking at Washington, we know what they are, right? They're led by quarterback rookie Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, of course, is a former LSU Tiger, Heisman Trophy winner. I think in this game, you're probably going to have a lot of Jaden Daniels LSU jerseys in the building. It's just something about those LSU players. No matter where they are, no matter where they go, if they come into the Superdome, they get a heroic heroic cheer from the crowd, especially a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who not only played at a high level at LSU, he's playing at a high level with the Washington Commanders. I mean, he's completing about 70% of his passes. He's a guy that, don't really turn the ball over as much. He came out early in the season. I mean, he was on fire. A lot of people looked at him as an MVP candidate. And then he went through a little bit of a stretch where he started to look a little bit like a rookie. And maybe that had a lot to do with the fact that teams were kind of zeroing in on him, gave him more respect, than you would give to a typical rookie at this stage of his career. But we know that what Jaden Daniels brings to the table is something that the New Orleans Saints have struggled to deal with, and that's a quarterback that has the ability to scramble out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. I expect for Jaden Daniels to make plays with his legs with the New Orleans Saints on today. I think he's going to be a matchup nightmare for this defense. It's unfortunate, but it's just the reality. I haven't seen the New Orleans Saints stop a mobile quarterback yet, so why would I pick them to stop a mobile quarterback now? Terry McLaurin, the star wide receiver for the Washington Commanders, has 9 touchdowns on the season, averaging about 65 yards per game. He's a guy that can get open. He's a guy that, to me, could have a good game. You're going up against Kool-Aid McKinstry, a rookie, and you're going up against Alontae Taylor, a guy who moved to the outside due to the injuries to Paulson Adebo, him breaking his leg. And you also have Marshawn Lattimore, who is now with the Washington Commanders. So, this is going to be a tough matchup for those guys. They kind of been battling the entire time, for the last couple of weeks. And it's been some ups, it's been some downs, and I expect for some ups and downs to take place on today. In order for the Saints to be able to win this football game, they're going to have to neutralize Jaden Daniels. You're going to have to neutralize him, make sure that he doesn't make plays, out of the pocket. And also you got to take into account Brian Robinson, their running back, takes the majority of the snaps. I mean, as a team, the Washington Commanders, they average about 150 yards per game. If you combine Brian Robinson's ability to make plays and Jaden Daniels' abilities to make plays when scrambling out of the pocket as well. You also have Zach Ertz out there, who is a seasoned veteran. He's probably not a name that a lot of people, have heard about recently, but he's still out there making plays. He's still out there making an impact. And we know that that's another thing that the Saints struggle with, those tight ends that are athletic, and that's a part of the passing game, which, to me, I just find that kind of weird, because if you look at the New Orleans Saints this entire season, they kind of been going to their tight ends. So I would expect for them to be able to do some things to be able to shut down some tight ends, because you're dealing with that type of look in practice. But I digress. This is going to be a tough game for the New Orleans Saints, man. Offensively, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to control the time of possession. Going to be kind of similar to what they tried to do versus the Rams a couple of weeks ago. It was a really good game plan in the first half, playing keep away from the Rams, running the football, those time of possessions. But the problem was, you wasn't really cashing in. If the Saints are going to be able to win this football game, you got to control the time of possession and turn it into points. You got to run with Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller. Alvin has been dealing with an illness throughout the week, hasn't really practiced. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, was part of team practice on Friday. So I expect for him to play. When you're a veteran like Alvin, I'm not really concerned about practice because we know that he knows what he's doing in the game. But I want to see maybe if the New Orleans Saints will utilize Kendre Miller a little bit more due to the fact that Alvin has been dealing with that illness. And how will that illness affect Alvin today versus the Washington Commanders is the question there. And also with the wide receiver room, somebody is going to have to make a play. Somebody's going to be able have to be able to step up and make a play. I mean, we know that Marquez Valdez-Scantling has made plays, big explosive plays down the field. But, you know, I need throughout the ebbs and flows of the game for a guy to make a catch, to convert a third down play, a guy that can win his matchup. Now, it's going to be hard because you got a couple wide receivers for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, these guys are kind of rotational guys, not star players, just kind of get in where they fit in, just servicing a role. But somebody's going to have to emerge out of the pack in order for them to be able to be formidable offensively and to keep up with the Washington Commanders. Looking at the defensive side of the football, you got to look at the front four. This is Chase Young's game. He goes back and plays a team. Well, not goes back, but he plays against the team that drafted him in the Washington Commanders. So this is a game that I'm pretty sure that he has circled somewhere on his schedule, and he wants to be able to make an impact. I believe that Tano Passanio will be in this game for the first time after rupturing his Achilles. So he should be able to add something to the defensive line room. Also, Brian Brzee, who has been getting pressure on quarterbacks. He leads the team in sacks with 7.5. Should be able to get pressure. I'm still a little bit concerned about this run defense. Last week they were able to shut down the New York Giants rushing attack, but that's not really saying anything. I mean, they're not one of the best running teams in football. Their offensive line isn't really that good. But if you look at the Commanders, this is a different type of test for the New Orleans Saints. And we've seen that when teams have the ability to run the football and have done it successfully throughout the season, it's been tough for the New Orleans Saints to be able to shut down the running game. They're going to have to do that because if they're able to run Washington, if they're able to run the football, then guess what? That's going to set up the play action pass, and now it's going to have your head on a swivel. It's going to have your head in a whirlwind because you're going to have to respect the run, and it's also going to leave your wide receivers, your cornerbacks out there, to be able to try to win their matchups because now you have to bring somebody into the box. So the Saints are going to have to be able to shut down Brian Robinson or keep that running attack of Washington at bay. The linebackers are going to have to fly around the field. Whoever's guarding the tight ends, they're going to have to get Zach Ertz on the ground, catching the ball out of the backfield. Washington does not have Austin Eckler anymore. He was put on IR, but they still have some talented running backs that's right behind Brian Robinson, and also Brian Robinson can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. Tackling has got to be the key. The Saints have struggled to put guys on the ground consistently. They're going to have to be able to put them on the ground because Washington have some really good wide receivers that can get those yards after the catch. So all in all, tough matchup for the Saints. I don't know if the Saints are going to win this football game. If I'm a betting man, I probably wouldn't have them winning this football game. But I expect for them to go out there and play as tough as they can. I just don't trust the quarterback situation. If Jake Haener goes out there and lights it up, then, great for him. But I just don't see it. I think he has some things that work in his advantage. He has his offensive lineman in tow. He has a really good running back or two good running back, a great one in Alvin and a good one in Kendre Miller. So you got some guys that you can be able to lean on, but I still think that it's going to be a really, really tough matchup for the Saints, especially when you look at Washington, them, trying to make the postseason, them trying to make sure that, they try to be as close as they possibly can to the Philadelphia Eagles, even though I feel like the Eagles pretty much got that wrapped up when it comes to the NFC East, but you still want to be able to get one of those playoff spots, and you do that by knocking off your NFC opponents, which is the New Orleans Saints. That helps you. But if the New Orleans Saints can somehow win this football game, then it helps you with your very, very little playoff chances. So that's how I feel about the game. But thank you all for being here. Shouts out to each and every one of you. I'll go ahead and I'll read some of your comments here. Go ahead and stroll down. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I was just trying to get all my equipment together. I brought all my equipment to Atlanta with me when I went to the Celebration Bowl. So I was taking it out of the bag and kind of putting everything together. And then, of course, like when you move, your webcam and all that other stuff, you have to adjust the settings. So it took a little bit longer than I anticipated. But thank you all for sticking by. And I apologize once again for being late, but thank you all for being here and being patient. But let's go ahead and read some of these comments here. We'll start with Derek. Derek said, JSU Black National Champs. Yeah, man, congratulations to the Jackson State Tigers. Winning the HBCU Black National Championship at the Celebration Bowl. It was an emotional game for a lot of members of the Jackson State faithful. Shouts out to South Carolina State, man. They have a really passionate fan base there. Really nice people, really kind. What I liked most about, being out there, there was friendly banter, but it was all HBCU love, out there. People were talking, and having a good time. And that's what it's all about, really. And it was an honor and a privilege to be able to cover such an amazing event. Shouts out to the Celebration Bowl committee. Shouts out to Miss Michelle Jinks. Shouts out to all of the members of the Celebration Bowl committee. I got opportunity to speak to so many different people, from the players from South Carolina State and Jackson State, the coaches, the commissioner of the MEAC. I spoke to the vice president of ESPN, Mr. Pete Derzies, who was extremely instrumental in bringing HBCU sports to ESPN, for creating the Celebration Bowl. And for some of my OGs out there, you probably remember the SWAC MEAC Challenge when that first came out. He was very instrumental in that. So it was pretty cool, man. I mean, got opportunity to get on the field, go through a Mercedes-Benz Stadium and be able to, interact with so many amazing people. So it was a great weekend. And I had to be impartial because, I'm a member of the media. But, when it comes down to, my love for Jackson State, of course, everybody knows I love my alma mater. But, you try to be, impartial when you're actually trying to give people information. You never want to wear your heart on your sleeve when it comes to that. But it was a great time nonetheless. Says, who dat, ladies and gentlemen, let's go watch Jack ball out and eat this W. Troy, I guess you're referring to Jake. I get what you're saying, Troy. Look, it's going to be tough for this dude, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be extremely tough for Jake Haener to go out here and beat an 8-5 Washington Commanders team that is vying for a playoff spot, seriously vying for a playoff spot. And, this guy's inexperienced. I expect for him to look better. I don't want people to look at Jake Haener and look at his body of work over the last, I don't know, a couple times he's got opportunity to go out there. It was in garbage time. If you know that, he's a backup, he's not getting many reps, so he gets a full week of practice as a starter. So let's see if we can evaluate Jake Haener and see what he can actually do with a full week of practice, having his offensive line and some really solid veterans to lean on. Good afternoon, Who Dat family. What's going on, Tyra? Thank you for being here. Says, oh Lord, Jake gonna go back to a photo shoot. Look, man, I feel like this. I feel like Jake Haener is not getting a fair shake from some fans, and I'm not talking about you, Jack. But I just think that people just look at individuals and maybe they do something that not considered cool or, hip or, show like, oh, I got the greatest swag or the drip in the world. Like walking into a stadium, dressed like Joe Burrow would be like, like he just got off the runway stage or something, like, oh, he ain't bezeled out, like I don't care, I don't care what these guys dress like. I don't care about their personality. I just want to see him go out there and succeed. And I just think that sometimes, like, we size guys up and we feel like they don't meet the part. But I also feel like a lot of people became like Rattler supporters. So if we support one guy, we automatically start to dismiss or try to discredit or try to signal out another guy's lower qualities or something. Like I mean, at the end of the day, I think that Jake Haener is a talented quarterback. I don't think that he's a day in, day out starter. I think that more than likely he's going to be one of those players that is going to play a couple of years in National Football League and then transition to being a coach. And I think he's probably going to be like a really good coordinator. Wouldn't surprise me one day if he's coaching on a collegiate or a professional level in some capacity. But I just think that, the man deserves a chance to go out there. He did all the right things. He went out there and he competed and he won the backup job. So it's fair if the quarterback goes down, the starting quarterback, the backup quarterback is supposed to come in. So this is a great opportunity for Jake. I'm not, like I said, I'm not concerned about all of the photo shoots and all that kind of stuff that he was doing. Can you ball out? I don't care. Like, can you play? Can you put your team in the best position to win? Can you get the ball to the guy if he's wide open? Can you hand the ball off to the running back without any issues? If you can do that, then I'm okay with you. I don't care what your photo shoot look like. I don't care, what the perception is about you based on certain things. Just go out there and play, and I guarantee you nobody will say anything about you. Congratulations, Jackson State, on knocking off my Bulldogs in the Celebration Bowl. They a little sad we lost, but Jackson State was the better team. Much love and congrats again, TJ. Yeah, I mentioned like South Carolina State. They I looked at that game and I'm gonna be real with you. I was talking to some of the guys, and it was just a different type of vibe when you was talking to Jackson State players and when you was talking to South Carolina State players. Like, they were already underdogs going into the game. I'm talking South Carolina State. And I just feel like maybe that underdog thing kind of got to them a little bit. I feel like they were a little bit up, a little bit uptight going into the game. I don't feel like they was loose. I think they were a little bit nervous. And it seemed like by the time they shook the nerves off, it was like 14-0. And you had like some other things that were happening. But it also can affect you psychologically, like the punt return for a touchdown that came back on a penalty. But the show that they have the ability to do that can kind of affect you psychologically, if something breaks down like that. So I think that, they have talent. I think they'll be back there again once they add to their recruiting class. I mean, when they add these recruits, the new ones they have to Orangeburg out there, and try to go and try to do this thing again. But Jackson State was just on a different level. And I think those guys losing those two Celebration Bowl games in the past, they just wanted to right the wrong. So it would have took a Herculean effort to beat them on Saturday. Let's see. I'm here to tell you the same, man, that rose Lazarus from the dead, turned water into wine, fed 5,000 with them couple pieces of bread and walked on water, can turn Haener into a franchise quarterback. Well, I tell you what, I I get what you're saying, but look, at the end of the day, it's like you blessed with it or you're not, right? It's rather you have the ability to be able to be a franchise quarterback, to lead a team game in, game out, week in, week out, or you don't, and even if you can't, like we know that there are career backups in the National Football League. Chase Daniel made a lot of money being a backup. Ryan Fitzpatrick made a lot of money being a backup. Like there are guys who make a lot of money. Jacoby Brissett makes a lot of money being a backup. So everybody's not going to be a star. They're not going to be a guy every time you walk into a building, everybody knows you. But if you can go out there and take advantage of your opportunities and just do the right things to help your team win, or for your team to be in it with a chance to win in the end, I think you'll always have a job. But this is a great opportunity for Jake Haener. Let's see. I agree. Let Jake start so we can move on. I hope he proves me wrong, but he don't look like that type. Yeah, I think that Jake Haener is passionate. I think that he's a gamer. I think he's a guy that believes in himself. And that's something that's a plus. I mean, when you have the ability to believe in yourself, to believe that you have the capabilities of winning a game in the moment doesn't seem too small for you, then I think you're going in the right direction. The Saints have always had problems with mobile quarterback. Jaden Daniels is that dude. Yeah, I mean, that's why I feel like the Saints are going to lose this game, because look, a tiger don't change his stripes. Like, I feel like until they show me otherwise, why would I pick for them to be able to neutralize Jaden Daniels? You haven't shown that you can neutralize Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs lit you up, right? I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand like how this team just can't stop mobile quarterbacks. I just don't get it. But until they show me otherwise, I'm always going to pick that quarterback that can be able to move around in the pocket. 27-10 Commanders after that, after what I saw last week on offense. Yeah, I mean, a lot of checking it down. Man, the Saints just boring. Like, let's just call it for what it is, man. Let's just call it for what it is. They're a boring football team. If we were not fans of this football team, we wouldn't be watching these guys because they're not exciting. They're not exciting. There's nothing about this team is exciting. It's just not. Like, it's just plain and simple. Like, this is a very uninteresting football team because the only reason why you watching it is for storylines and like hope for the future. And like I said, you're a fan. Like, if let's just say if you didn't have you didn't have any emotional interest in this team and you had other games that were on right now, like, would you be watching the Saints game? Probably not. But I don't know, man. I just look at this football team. They're fighting, they're battling. But the issues that plague this team, and for us to see a much better version of this team, probably is just going to happen next year. Like, let's just get through this season. Let's just get this, this nightmare of a season over with, and let's just move forward. All right, but they're just not interested. They're not an interesting football team, and I'm saying that with all due respect. They just not. They're just not. I mean, I was talking with somebody on yesterday on the sidelines at the game at the Celebration Bowl, and they were just talking to me. They're just saying, the Saints are in a mess. Like, they're like in an absolute mess. It was like they talked about like the organization and how they're structured. Basically said like how the Saints have like this good old boy type system. Like not so much on some racism type stuff, but mostly like they try to keep everything like in reps, like certain people and certain individuals they give certain access to. They shout and keep other people out no matter what the position is, what their credentials are, and all that kind of stuff. And they operate just completely different, man. And for somebody that doesn't even really be around the team like that to call the team out on their stubbornness, it just was eye popping. And it also just basically confirms everything that I've been saying the entire time. There's an echo chamber that's going on within this organization. Like, they keep certain individuals out because they don't want individuals to be honest and truthful and forthcoming about what's going on. And then you have some individuals that are afraid to really call these guys out. And, man, it's just unbelievable like that you operate like that. Like, that's insanity to me. It's insanity. Like, for you to not want to address like certain situations, or people have to force your hand to address certain situations, and people are talking about you and laughing at you, like it was like a man. When I was just talking just about what I was doing and talking to different individuals about covering the team, and when that conversation came up, I mean, they talked about, the same salary cap issues and them holding on with the players too long. And, and even shouts out to Max Starks. Max Starks, former offensive line. I was talking to him on the sidelines. He covers the Pittsburgh Steelers as their sideline reporter. And he was just talking about some of the practices of the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they move on from a player a year earlier than too late, and how they're able to kind of just get players in here and develop them and kind of rotate them out and still find success year after year, and how the Saints basically just hold on to players too long, and that was extremely telling to me. It was extremely telling to me that guys was like, talking like that. Like just basically confirming everything that we know. And when you have people that are on the inside that know these organizations on a certain level, that cover the NFL, like talking about the Saints and just talk about like they front office and some of the things that are going on, man, that's extremely telling. And it makes me feel like I'm well within my rights to say some of these things, because honestly, I've been saying this stuff beforehand. And people will tell me, well, you ain't there, you ain't been around, you ain't this, you ain't that. Look, man, I don't have to be off in that thing. And honestly, I don't want to be off in that thing if I have to lie to kick it. I tell people that all the time, I'd rather just give my opinion and keep it moving versus like telling you all man, everything is going to be great. The quarterback is great. The team is great, man. Bump all that. That's the only thing worth watching right now. What was I missed the comment about what you feel like is worth watching. I guess you're talking about player development, or some of these players that maybe on a bubble, seeing what they have. Man, TJ, I'm at the point where I don't want to hear how the Saints win with who they got. The Saints need a lot of new players to get back to winning games. They don't have the players to compete with. Man, I'm going to tell you this right here. The only thing that's saving the New Orleans Saints from complete and utter embarrassment is the fact that the Saints play in a division that's just as terrible as they have been with the decision making. That's the only thing that saves the Saints. If these teams start to really truly get it together, the Saints going to just fall to the back of the line. The thing about it is, you have organizations around the Saints are just as inept as this organization is. The Falcons, inept. Tampa, they basically are just basically it's like if all the other teams have dirty diapers inside of their trash bags, maybe Tampa have, I don't know, some day old hamburger meat or something. Like the bag don't smell as bad as the other bags, but it's still trash at the end of the day. Like there's no bragging rights in the NFC South. Like, what you bragging about? Oh, we won the division. Oh, wow, you won the division. You was 9-8 the year before that, 8-9, won the division before that. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you still trash. Like, t-shirt and hat when you basically one game above 500. Like, that's not impressive if you ask me. And honestly, if the Saints were winning a division like that, I wouldn't be bragging about it. Oh, y'all won a division, but you just as trash as the other teams are in this division. And that's what's been saving the New Orleans Saints. It's been saving the Saints this entire time. If they played in a division like the North, then Mickey Loomis would really be people would really be sitting up here talking about this guy. But the thing that's really saving him is nobody really cares about the Saints like that. They just don't. Like, if the Saints were like a high-profile team and they were looking like this, then they probably would be forced to make changes. But they fly under the radar because people don't really care that much about them like that. No, people aren't breaking their necks to talk about the Saints. Like, if you were talking about the Saints have to force you to talk about them. And that comes with winning football games, knocking off teams that they shouldn't beat, or teams that's at the upper echelon of the National Football League. And the Saints don't do that. So there it is. Let's scroll down a little bit more. It says Mickey Loomis refuses to change and catch up with the current times. Yeah, I mean, that's going to continue to cause the Saints hardship. And there's no signs of letting up, folks. It's just not. There's no signs of letting up. Like the Saints don't operate the way that other organizations do. That's just the reality. They just don't. They don't operate like that, right? And because they don't operate like that, not much change is going to take place. I honestly think that if they didn't have that nationally televised game and everybody just seeing fans out there booing the hell out of Dennis Allen, putting bags on their heads, the Saints probably would have still kept Dennis Allen around somewhere. But nobody seemed to care, as long as it was, he was flying under the radar. But when it's a nationally televised game and the entire world seeing how trash your team is and how bad you look on the field, it kind of forces your hand. And even with that, we know that Mickey Loomis was extremely upset that, that they fired Dennis Allen. They went over his head and let him go. So when you thinking like that, when you got a mind frame like that, you ain't winning much until you can get out of your own way. And the Saints, to me, they're going to continue to get in their own way because Mickey Loomis can't see the forest through the trees. He just can't. Like, he feels like he hired Sean Payton a long time ago and it gave the Saints more success than they ever had. And now it just feels like nobody can question him because look what I did 16, 17 years ago. But you done lost your fastball and everybody can see it. Everybody knows that new management needs to take place. Everybody knows new and fresh ideas need to take place in New Orleans. Everybody knows that, some accountability needs to be taking place when it comes to New Orleans, when it comes to like certain takes and certain viewpoints of individuals. But, people aren't trying to rock the boat. But, but hey. TJ, how you feel about the Saints taking a flyer on Jackson Dart in the fourth round? I mean, I don't have an issue with that at all. If you can find yourself another quarterback, a lot of people feel like they're not set at quarterback. A lot of people feel like this was a benching of Spencer Rattler, by putting Jake Haener in. I tend to disagree. I think it just has a lot to do with them trying to see what they have in Jake Haener. But I don't think that your quarterback position is set in stone. So I would say go out there and try to find one until you actually get the one that you feel can help you. But, I mean, I just know that the way that the Saints are structured, you're probably going to have to do something different if you're bringing in a quarterback because none of these gentlemen, in my humble opinion, are built to develop a quarterback right now. So maybe you need to get yourself a coach that has a reputation of helping quarterbacks or maybe bringing in a quarterbacks coach that can get the best out of said quarterback. But as long as you continue to do things and do business the way that you've been doing, still going to have the same issue. And no matter if you have Jackson Dart or any other top quarterback, they're going to struggle because you didn't put the right infrastructure around them to succeed. Some content creators need to stop with the fanatic points of view of the team. The Saints have a lot of holes to fill. Yeah, look, I think that's what, a lot of people are starting to come to grips with. I'm starting to see a little bit more accountability when it comes to the content. But, I do think that, if you're just not calling a spade, I don't feel like you're doing a service to the people that follow you, that listen to you, that watch you. You're not. You got to start holding people accountable. I mean, people just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, if you play bad, you play bad. It's nothing personal to me. Like, I don't know these people at the end of the day. I don't know them. But if you play bad, I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, this person, they ain't gonna talk to me no more, or the team may not give me an opportunity to come see the team. Like, man, I don't care. Like, if most of if you go back and see my takes, it's never nothing personal, and I don't feel like if you're giving your honest assessment of something, it shouldn't be personal. I try to put my, those type of feelings to the side. But you got to hold people accountable, man, at the end of the day. There's a lot of issues that's going on with this football team, and regardless if they want to hear that or not, that's just the reality. And, I don't feel like it's out of the realm of I don't think it's is so far off. The feelings and the views are so far off because the things that we're saying here, if you go and you listen to some of the locker room talk, they saying the same exact stuff. So, I mean, they have to have some type of validity there, right? Congratulations to Travis Hunter on winning the Heisman Trophy award. Yeah, shouts out to Travis Hunter, who won the Heisman Trophy on Saturday night. You know, a lot of people felt as if, you know, it wasn't the right person to win the Heisman Trophy. A lot of people felt that Ashton Genty should have won the Heisman Trophy. I kind of got mixed feelings about that. Like, number one, it's pretty cool to know that the guy who won the Heisman Trophy, you know, went to my alma mater for the first 2 years of his college football career. That's pretty cool. And then he even mentioned Jackson State on a world stage yesterday, so that was pretty dope. But at the same time, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I feel like social media helped out Travis Hunter a lot. I think that the notoriety and the fame that Travis Hunter had kind of helped them to kind of catapult him over Ashton Genty. You know, I think the fact that Deion Sanders, a high-profile individual in his own right, is his coach, helped him out tremendously. Like, I feel like if the roles were reversed, like let's just say if Travis Hunter was doing this at Boise State and Ashton Genty was doing what he was doing at the University of Colorado, I feel like Ashton Genty would have won the Heisman Trophy. Last night, make no mistake about it, like Travis Hunter is a great college football player, but the Heisman Trophy last night was a popularity contest, and Travis Hunter was the most popular, and you know that's the reason why he ended up winning. Like it's combined with the fact that he had a good season, but when you are 130 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders, like all-time rushing record. Like, keep in mind, like Barry Sanders went to Oklahoma State in 1988. So that is 36 years ago. So this is a 36-year-old record that Ashton Genty is 130 yards away from breaking. Like, that's just the way that I feel about it. Like I said, I think he's an incredible talent. I think that, you know, he deserved to be in New York, but let's not act as if social media didn't help him in some capacity. Let's not act as if Deion Sanders didn't help him in some capacity. And it also, to me, speaks about the hypocrisy of college football, you know, because Travis Hunter has always been special. He was special at Jackson State. But let's just say, for example, if let's just say Travis Hunter would have stayed at Jackson State, he wouldn't have got this award. He wouldn't have got it. So to me, like that shows the hypocrisy right there to say that, you know, if you're not playing on a major college football level, then you know you don't deserve these awards. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, he basically kind of just showed you that they will prefer for you to go to a school that's, you know, a Power 5 school, even a PWI, in order for you to get some type of notoriety. So it was a lot of things, in my opinion, that was like eye-popping to me. But I do think that you know, social media kind of helped them in that favor. Can't say it's a benching if dude was never starting. Yeah, look, I don't know, man. A lot of people felt like, well, if the Saints really believed in Spencer Rattler like that, they would have went back to him. So I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I just think that they want to see what they have in Jake. And like I said, Jake, when we're talking about the pecking order and how the Saints picked you know, the quarterback, backup quarterback, Jake Haener was the guy. You know, so why not give him opportunity if he's the backup? Look what Mickey Loomis did in 16, 17 years ago. Good one, TJ. I'm out. Team Rattler lead the way. Everyone have a safe holiday. Yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and, you know, end the show here. We'll be back at halftime, talk a little bit about the first half. Hope everybody enjoys the game. You can follow me on X. I'll be tweeting throughout the first half. We'll be back for halftime, and I don't know, maybe we'll stay for the second half. We'll see. but we will be on Bleacher Report immediately following the game to break down the New Orleans Saints Washington Commanders matchup. How did the Saints fare out? What went wrong? What went right? So I'll have that link for you when we come back for halftime. I also want to acknowledge the donation. Yo, thank you very much for the $2. Says Saints get 6 win before it pales, TJ. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad when you think about it. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Once again, be back at halftime. Till next time, all I got to say is, who that?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.